The Senate notes that the contract of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja Second Runway was cancelled by the last administration after allegations of inflation of contracts was established. This Senate further notes that the contract was awarded by the Federal Executive Council at 64 billion naira after ratification by the Bureau for Public Procurement. There is also a great need for the construction of a second runway, since the existing one is not only bad but inadequate. The Senate believes that the publication that the contract is already undergoing review and to be awarded at 63.5 billion naira as published by newspapers across the country is another attempt to steal and rape Nigerians of our common patrimony. Mr. President, my colleagues, the Senate further convinced by the fact that the entire Gombe airport with 3.6-kilometer runway cost 8.2 billion naira. Jigawa Airport cost a total of 11 billion naira. Bauchi Airport cost 12 billion naira. Enugu Airport was reconstructed and expanded, Mr. President, at 13 billion naira. The uncommon Akwa Ibom International Airport, built by the former uncommon governor of Akwa Ibom State, now uncommon senator and uncommon leader, minority leader of the Senate, was constructed at 18.05 billion. The Senate is worried that the proposed cost of constructing just a runway at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport, Abuja, at this astronomical amount is about 4 times the cost of constructing a brand new airport in Nigeria. Further worried that the new Terminal 5 at the Heathrow Airport in London, with 4 lanes of 4-kilometer runway, costs less than 25 billion naira, and constructing a 3.81 lane runway for 63.5 billion will be a waste of funds considering Nigeria's present economic situation. The Senate, Mr. President, my dear colleagues, is therefore persuaded that as representative of the people, we must advise that due process and strict adherence to the Public Procurement Act be observed in the said contract of the second Abuja Airport runway. Convinced that if this is not brought to the attention of the government now, there may be another fraud in the making, given the comparative analysis of cheaper costs across Nigeria. Mr. President, my beloved colleagues, the Senate therefore accordingly resolves: 1, that there is urgent need for the construction of a second runway at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. 2, the Senate therefore urges the federal government to ensure that due process and diligence is followed in the design, award, and procurement process of the contract. 3, to call on the federal government to drastically reduce this unrealistic cost and monitor the contract award process. Mr. President, my colleagues, we as representatives of the Talakawas, of the Mekunus, of the have-nots, will not sit and allow our common patrimony to be wasted. Mr. President, this motion was raised in the House of Representatives 5 years ago. In 2009, Mr. President, this particular project was appropriated for, and it was 8 billion naira in the 2009 budget. But somehow in 2010, the same project, the same design, the same specifics, Mr. President, was ratified by the Federal Executive Council after passing through due process for 64 billion. When I raised this motion then, the then president invited me and collected all the data and set up a committee headed by Sheikh Lemu, and that committee reduced the contract to 49 billion. I came back to the floor and said 49 billion is still a rape of our common treasury. As a result of that, Mr. President, as he was then, cancelled the contract. The contract is now surfacing again. Jigawa Airport is the newest of all. And if we carry out comparative analysis of the cost of Jigawa Airport compared to this satanic figure of 63.3, then this Senate have no choice than to ask that while we need a second runway, it must be done within the provisions of the Public Procurement Act. I will not want to belabor us with unnecessary commentaries or rhetorics, but I want to implore my colleagues, in the interest of our oath, to please support this motion and make our government and our agencies responsible. I so move, Mr. President.